that deal yesterday. Now none of us are going to be able to drive. We'll start taking our vehicles away from us. That guy that, and this isn't the first one that's happened.
Yeah.
But, you know, when they want to outlaw guns and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
guess what? People are going to find a way.
Oh, yeah. There's always crazy big one.
I don't know where that was, in Japan or, yeah, it must have been Japan. Some guy had some kind of big old, long,
yeah, he killed a bunch of people.
yeah, he was on a tramway or whatever, and he went nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather be shot.
Yeah, kid bleed out. Terrible.
Well, and they said this guy was trying to get away from some altercation he had
Before?
before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, pick a different road. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the last meeting. Were there any additions or corrections to be made? If not, do I hear approval? Been moved by Cale.
Second.
Second by Larry. All in favor? Approved. We got a consent agenda. We need permission for clerk to pay Itron support agreement for $3,959.40, to pay G-Work support agreement of $984.85, and to pay the CCMFOA dues of $100.
So moved.
Moved by Larry.
Okay.
Second by Darren. All in favor? Approved. Cody's not here. New business. Okay, we're to Helen.
She had sent out a letter. I had been copied on this letter from the Northwest Kansas Planning and Development Commission. That Randy Raby, I think his name is, and it's concerning the county not paying their share of the dues. I asked her if she wanted me to forward the letter out to you. She didn't think that I should at this point. There's some issues that they're trying to work through between the county and this organization. My concern was whether or not it would affect us with applying for grants, and she said it would not. So, you know, they're the ones that help us with the CDBG grants. So Helen said that would not affect us as long as we continue to pay our dues. So I don't know if you guys are aware of what's going on with that.
I've heard bits and pieces, but I'm not sure of the exact. I just know they're upset with him, so.
Yeah. So if you have questions,
knows more than I do.
I'd say contact Helen. If you have any questions, just reach out to Helen and she'll explain what's going on.
I did talk to Helen today briefly about that letter that she had sent out, and she encouraged that somebody attend the meetings. And I don't know if they once a month, or I know they have their annual meeting. They're splitting it into 2 different days, December 1st or the 2nd. I think the 1st is in Waukegan and the 2nd is Phillipsburg, or vice versa.
Oh, I remember seeing that. She wants council members to go?
Well, I know she mentioned like she would like commissioners to go, but where we pay half the county dues, and if they don't let the county stay, because like Ellis County did not pay their dues, and so they are out, but the city of Ellis wanted to stay in, and so they let the city of Ellis. So I'd assume if Cheyenne County is no longer a part of it, we would want to have somebody represent us as far as our interest in the program, since we pay dues to it. But it's kind of a long drive to Hill City for a 30-minute meeting. And
Can't Zoom?
yeah, I know. I wish they could Zoom them.
Yeah, either one, Hill City or Phillipsburg would be.
Hill City is where the monthly board meetings are. The annual meeting is, I think it's in Waukegan or Phillipsburg, which is even further yet.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to old business, property cleanups.
There's been some progress on the South Denison one, but that's one that we sent a notice to appear on, right?
South Denison is,
The one up by the Eagle store. 616. is
I
the
need a name. I don't know the property addresses. Is that the
Colwell.
Colwell one?
Colwell, yeah.
So, did you get in touch with him? He filed what he has as a mortgage deed, which is basically that person signed a mortgage to him, and I think what he was intending to do was to deed the property over to that individual. However, he used the wrong terminology. Has he since rectified that? Because he's not brought anything into my office.
And in talking with Jamie, she said mortgage, like, I don't know that the state of Kansas actually recognizes a mortgage deed.
I've not seen one in the state of
In the state of
Kansas.
Kansas, no, because they were a
So,
little perplexed as to what to do with that. I did call him and say that it did not transfer, that he was still the current owner as far as the
right.
actual records of the courthouse.
So, a property letter went out. If it's not done,
It's 90% done.
okay,
It happened over the weekend.
okay.
And that's why I was reporting on it, because I know there was an issue potentially with the notification of the notice to appear, whatever we had next because of the change in ownership, if that's to be the case. But their attention's been
Okay.
Yeah.
gotten. I guess they're doing something there. The one on East 4th is not in compliance. It doesn't appear to be, so I'll get with you on that.
I was actually up there yesterday and took photos, so I will just CC you on the photos and send them out, if that's okay with you.
I've got photos.
Okay. Yeah. Either way.
I think we cleared the other ones. I've got a couple other I'm going to get some pictures of based on some concerns. I think we cleared the others, didn't we? I know we did McCoy.
We cleared McCoy. You said you reluctantly cleared McCoy. Tamburino is still in process. His roof, the roof is what needs to be done, but that's not going to be done till spring. And then the one with the dog waste.
Yeah, that one is cleared.
Yep.
So I think that's the ones we had active. But anyway, I've got a couple others to add on as well that I'll get pictures of and back to the council.
Okay. Move on to projects pending. Seen where
We were supposed to, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Travis was painting, I don't know how far he's got along
Yeah.
and stuff, and how many good days he got in and stuff, but I guess this paint they're using, you're supposed to be able to go down fairly low on temperature. It's a new paint, so I hope that's good, because where it cools off at night.
Have you been by
It
there?
looks good.
It looks, I haven't, the day I walked in there, he hadn't started painting yet.
Because they used something on that crack that really
Yeah.
worked on that. I mean, and he was just talking about that being a new product for expansion.
Yeah, it was
That thing, that really
I don't know what kind of
nice.
material, I mean, it
I can't remember what it
was,
was.
wasn't caulking or anything.
No, no,
because
no.
It was a brown type
It's-
material, and I don't know what.
It's actually structural for what's there, but it's supposed to give and take. Anyway, I was just impressed with how they did that as opposed to just filling it. As far as painting, he continues. He was there today as well. So,
Tomorrow's gonna be good too, so maybe he'll get
right.
quite a bit of it done then.
Something I did not get, we was talking about getting any previous letters that you had on the 36th thing. You was going to send us what you did have or something, is that right?
I don't have anything signed, is the problem. And then I thought you already had what the things the ones that I was saying.
I don't know,
thought,
I just know it was a discussion at the last meeting. I thought
Okay.
you possibly had something that you was going to
we
forward
don't.
to us.
Holly doesn't. We didn't have anything else.
So-
We just had the unsigned ones that are on the server.
Okay.
And the understanding is that the 3 that I have, you have copies of because they're not far enough back.
So I want the unsigned ones anyway, because
Okay.
it's a date marker for us to look. So yeah, I would want those anyway.
Perfect. I will send them to you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I have Holly looking. We just do not have any record, any paper file that has to do with that.
Anything else on project pending? I guess what are we gonna do with the pool? sure we'll keep going.
The last meeting, you reported having some discussion.
Well, I talked to Dave Fleming a little bit, I don't know. We're just going to try to tackle one project
To remove.
to remove it.
And that's what I wasn't clear when you said that. I should have asked you at the last meeting. Was I still looking at doing something other than taking it down?
I think it's, decisions can't be made if we're going to do anything before the meeting dives into it. Whether we move the sand level or whether we did what you were talking about or something. Yeah, the bicycle track thing.
But you still have to remove what's there for any one of those days, don't we?
I would guess so.
Well, I'm going to the commissioners at the next meeting. Let me just have a discussion with them about utilizing county resources to remove it. I mean, it's gone.
Yeah, we need to start.
I need to come and go about the time we're ready to do something. Okay. Is that okay to talk to them about it?
Yeah, let's,
Yeah, north side of that cannot be removed. What David discussed.
anything else? We need to. Okay. Move on to the street project.
So they finished, I think, everything up to Benton. I mean, I needed to confirm that today, and I didn't do that. But the vendors just got to the point where they were just finishing up manholes and whatnot. The primary issue, I mean, the majority of the work that's done and completed is the grant funding, of course, because it was to be completed this year. Tyler Hilmer is in touch with Justine in reference to that, because we won't be able to disperse the rest of the CDBG funds this year yet. It's not practical. I mean, you don't want to force me to do it. No, I mean, it's kind of weird with the nice weather. It seems like it would be good, but the actual workable hours during the day were predictable. 3 days is just too sketchy. So I think it's just the section of it. I think it's just the north bit. And like I said,
Just the 2 blocks there.
because we completed the south bit, and we made it look like there was a lot more to it.
What about like a little patchwork like on
Parkway.
Parkway
Your house. Just kidding. What's the next year? They're going to be here tomorrow to do that Francis and Parkway, where they left that. That was an oversight, so they're coming with a heat thing to be able to put hot mix in it and permanently do it. Because, yeah, that'd be a free spot for all the customers in the bunker. So, yes.
That was the last little bit of layer that you had. Okay.
Okay. Pool report.
I had a chance just to kind of go through and look at some things. I think there's some things I can share. Take a look at the income and expenses for, it seems like our expenses were pretty high this year, but we had extra fees and lifeguard training, we had extra equipment, stuff for the pool. Our intake was good, I thought. The private parties especially, we got $4,200 just from private parties this year as compared to $1,300 last year, $1,350. The sessions was a little bit higher. Admissions was basically about the same when you look at the pool passes. I know there was some equipment that had to be bought and chemicals and that kind of stuff for the pool per se, so the expenses look like they're a little bit higher. All in all, compared to other years, I don't think we're all that far out of line. I do want to look into further a little bit about the hours. I think what's the word I'm looking for? Amount of time that was invested in the pool. I don't have a good feel on that yet. I'm going to have to do some spreadsheet work and see if I can lay this out a little better, but I think we had too many hours for what we actually got accomplished at the pool this year, and I'm not real sure why yet. I got to get into that a little bit more. Of course, we had a lot more kids, which up the average too, but it should have leveled out. Our salaries was about $12,500 higher than it was last year. And I'm a little concerned about whether a good portion of that was between the manager and the assistant manager. I wanted to dive deeper into the hours on weekly basis and see if I can pinpoint down as to why they are significantly higher.
Part of it, Larry, was the late start last year would have been a part of that, because we didn't
Well, that's
open
right.
until
We were
June.
3 weeks off, I think, last year.
So that would be some of that.
I'm not really concerned about the hours, other than I want to know why there were certain hours at certain times, and try to get a little better feel of how things was laid out for different people, because I mean, we'll look at that. Well, it provided me with a whole bunch of time cards from 2-week periods, and that's what I want to go down and try to see if I can create a spreadsheet and just block out what kind of hours we're looking at on a daily basis and how it was staffed. And that's not something I'm going to get done in a couple of days. That's going to take some time. But I think it's important to know that we're justifying a managed running system. I'm not convinced that we need both at this point. But that was the vote of the school board at that point. Other than that, I mean, all in all, I'm pretty well satisfied. Hopefully the expenses will go out next year. We'll wait and see what happens as far as employees coming back. I think we're in pretty good shape as far as what we'll have next summer. We'll see what happens. She did put hours out to a lot of different people throughout the year to account for volleyball camps, basketball camps, football type stuff. I mean, there was a lot of different things that had to be made up for. My concern is just making sure that we have enough lifeguards out anytime there's people in the pool, that the lifeguards are attending. I don't think we have any mechanical issues that I'm aware of. I thought that went really well. That's just a quick synopsis of things. Any questions?
If there's no questions, do I hear a motion to accept and file the pool report? Moved by Amanda, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved. Building permits? Superintendent report.
The county has asked, with what's going on at the airport and the change in how they're doing the maintenance, the county is going to be doing snow removal, which typically isn't a lot, but they don't have any kind of a efficient snow plow, so they was asking about using our tandem state truck that we had bought. We don't use that one. I mean, the one we do use has always been sufficient for keeping up with our snow. I don't see a problem having them use it. We share equipment back and forth all the time. It doesn't seem to make sense for them to buy something when we don't use it in that way. In the event it's something we would need, there's other equipment that can work, but those things are just really efficient at moving large areas quickly, and we just never had the need to use that tandem one. So I told Dave and Steve Wilhelm that I thought that was definitely something we could explore. In fact, we're actually looking at the truck now and the blade to make sure it's practical and that they want to use it. I'm sure they will. So I guess more or less just the usual sharing of equipment. If it puts us in a line in any way, of course, we would have the priority on that. They plow snow anything 2 inches or more. It's a little bit more often than we would go, but if we get into using it a lot or something, we could work that out at that point. There's some years we may not use it.
Still look like it's up here, doesn't it?
Well, with the wind blowing, sometimes you get snow as flat as that is up there. I mean, how often you're actually going to have snow build up on this? I would think not very often. So I guess it's kind of a letting you know and or asking permission at the same time, because we swap equipment all the time for use.
We've been a pretty good working relationship for several years now, so everybody in agreement with it? Yep. Okay.
The large Christmas banners that we have, these red ones, the big ones that we put on the corners, those things are starting to get pretty rough. We ought to be looking at getting something different. They're getting to the point where if we get a lot of wind, they're working their way off and they're getting ripped out at the seams. Probably not repairable at the way that they're going, so I don't know ones are fine. I mean, they're all one color. I don't change. That makes no difference to me, but all of the small ones are fine. Those just don't catch the wind, so they don't get tore up. They're not out long enough to get faded. Yeah, it's just a big one. The recycle cameras are up as of Friday, and we did catch our first person doing something wrong today. We had some bags of
That was quick.
leaves put on the, it was funny because I was up there right before lunch, and I went up there after lunch to dump just a small thing of grass, and there they were, and the first thing I did is I went to cuss them. Oh yeah, the cameras are working. It didn't take me 5 minutes to find it on the camera. I asked around. Actually, I found somebody who really had all the information I needed. He was looking for a specific pickup, and somebody not only knew the name, they knew the address, and so we had them go pick up their trash bags and get a warning to the effect that if they do it again, they'd be cited for littering. So, really glad to have those up. But that's actually a minor one. I mean, well, it was actually, I think it was 6 trash bags full, and it was just thrown up on a pile. I mean, this is frustrating. Sometimes we do actually get trash, but I think it was yard waste. Whatever the case, I'm really glad to have those there, because every once in a while we get dumped on bad, and those are the ones where you know they did something intentional. That's the ones I want. More importantly, I want to deter it. We don't want to have to clean it up. I don't want people to get charged. I just don't want people to act bad. So the point is at least now, it's instead of just cussing about it, we have.
Just couldn't believe that it goes up there. And it's all leaves, and then he throws, what, 5 garbage, big
5 or 6 of them.
big ones on top there. And he could look at that and see that, well, there's no other garbage sacks here. Why did he break them open and dump it and take the bags with him? But no, he threw it on the pile.
How's the recycle going?
It is. Okay. We just use everybody because we're so short-handed. Everybody goes up the first thing in the morning. Or for us, I should say. 4 people go up and get it knocked out, and we get a large load of it, and we do it that way.
So what are you doing about taking stuff to those?
The county took the last one.
Yeah, they did?
Yeah. We took the first 2, and they took the last 1. So, yeah. And that goes back to that sharing. The next thing I had on the list was that I was going to go to the commissioners and talk to them about equipment, too. We're going at about 5 to 7 weeks on the trash truck to go down there with the compacted plastic and tin and the other parts. I'd rather get something with a larger capacity and a little bit more for the road. I mean, this truck will get us by for a while, but the county got dispersed to them. I think it was $93,000 when they liquidated the recycle center in Colby. And so I'm going to be talking to them about possibly a better truck and maybe a different forklift. Those funds should go back into the recycle. I mean, that's what it was all invested in. Of course, they're saving. The county is. The dues there are no longer paying there. We're just paying dump fees and the city's labor's in it. And now that they've taken the trash truck once, I mean, I'm hoping to get that angled in where we see a benefit too, because right now we just still have all the time in it. They are still paying us the amount, but with the addition of traveling with the truck, and yeah, just trying to make it as efficient as we can. And I assume that's not a problem for me as a city representative to ask them for those resources or for the recycle center. I mean, they're the funding, and we do the hands-on or most of it. So. Okay. You might have noticed as you came in, the guys are out doing the Christmas lights. It's best just to plug those in when there's not traffic around, and then, of course, we can make sure everything's working and change bulbs as we go without messing around with county people around underneath this. The trash can thing, we're just doing it whenever we can, picking those things up. I could say a fair amount of people are taking them, but not as many as I'd like. But we're working through that. It will take weeks because we can't just take all 4 of the guys and go do just trash cans. We have other things going on. But we picked up 250, I would guess, maybe close to 300. But we just do it in spots, when we can. We'll pick some up that are obvious ones that we think we need to pick up. And yes, we picked some up. I was going to keep that. But I expect that.
Where are you taking them?
To the power plant, breaking them apart and stacking them. Yeah, and I was gonna check with him, and of course, we're gonna have mountains of these things, you know, when it comes down to the time to do that. But yes, I think maybe you had mentioned that before.
At least they could store them out there when they don't use them in the winter.
Well, and that's the way they do that out there anyways. They get the dumpster and they wheel the stuff, they haul it over there anyway, so that would actually be more efficient for them. But yeah, I think it might have been you. Somebody brought that up about there. That's pretty much it. I do need probably, I would guess, 5 minutes on that help, and that's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Should be.
5 minutes of executive session for non-elected personnel as it relates to the city's policy on medical leave.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the superintendent report? Moved by Cale, second by Larry, all in favor? Approved. Attorney report?
Ordinance number 631 was emailed to you in red line as well as the way I had drafted it. The main thing is that what was B has been moved down to C, and B is now that they need to have a flag. As I just did the same penalty as what the one above it is. It is meant for safety. We obviously don't want to be finding people. We just want them to comply, but hopefully with that information and the penalty being what the other sections are, I figured that would be appropriate. The goal is, I mean, it doesn't have to be $1,000. It's just up to $1,000. And so I suggest, this is my proposal. If you have feedback on it, I will amend it. Otherwise,
Any feedback on it? I do have one question. What do we do about mopeds?
Under 50 cc. I think there's still that threshold, but it's completely different.
And the only reason I brought it up is because one person that has a UTV says, well, they can see me, but you cannot see Dave Robertson going down the street on his moped. And he goes all over the place. I said, yeah, he would really like it.
Does that have a tag on it?
No.
I didn't know, because the 50 cc
I think,
is the
yeah,
threshold that they have to have it. This has come up many times here.
I know.
It seems like everybody's got one and then nobody's got one.
And to me, it's not about licensing or this and that and tagging and this and that. It's more the safety part of it. And that guy was totally right. He says, how do you see him when you're backing up? But the UTV sticks up in the air like it does. And he wasn't complaining that much, but he just mentioned the fact. And I guess we just hope we don't have any issues with it.
I know you can't do anything with traffic law, but you potentially not have them on Main Street. I mean, you can do anything you want as far as restriction or space, but I don't think you can restrict it as far as being on the street. I don't know, because it's not, they don't hit anything under 50 cc's on lights. That'd be something else.
Isn't that the same thing with those lawnmower type things that we were discussing?
The exception.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Be it electric or 50 cc. You know, there's so many different things. It used to be there's a 50 cc or a 49 cc moped, and they made them that way because it dodged that. Now there's hybrids and electrics and much more powerful ones that I would assume the laws may be changed in some ways, but it could be.
Okay, any further discussion on this? Is everybody okay with what's wrote up on ordinance 631? We need to have a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, been moved by Amanda. Second by Cale. We need to vote on this. Cale. And Sarah.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have to get some of those in order?
What's that?
They get them up there. Where will they pick them up?
What? The flags will get themselves.
Oh, you guys get them themselves?
Yeah, they can get any,
Oh, okay.
they can do it however they want. It
I
just,
didn't know if it was something they had to.
no, it can, because it can be any color of neon shade, the top of which is not less than 6 feet above the ground and visible from a distance of 30 feet. So if they want a neon pink one, they can have it. If they want a neon orange one, they can have it. It just needs to be neon, so it's
Okay.
visible. This came up, where are we with the trash audit? Are we going to have new ordinances by the end of the year? JR, do you know? I mean, are we still in negotiations with him as far as contract?
That's where I would stand with it until we can get rid of, I mean, we're still actually using some of the blue ones that
Okay.
are sets. I can't, we're not going to have it by the first of the year.
Okay.
What we have, and what has been proposed is the only thing that's acceptable in my opinion. If he wants to, would want to okay that per service area, but the audit will not be done.
Okay.
It's just, there's no way.
Okay. So, on that note of, we have quite a few ordinances, and there's been quite a bit of change to the 2015 code, and with the trash ordinance, that the solid waste section of the code is going to have a pretty significant overhaul. There have been something come up about recodifying. I think it's done there's been once at 9 years, once at 12 years. It's been 6 years since it's been done. Bird City just hired out a recodifying by Ranson, I think it is, Ranson Cityware, and it is a recodification service that they offer. And the price that Bird City got it at, which was voted on in open meeting, was like $3,200. I think $3,250 to have the whole thing recodified and make sure and go through that it is what it wants to say. Especially now that we don't have a police department and there's a lot of ordinances that say police department. We're going to be recodifying the solid waste article of the utilities code, and then we just have a lot of them. And so I know it's not in the budget, but I just wanted to see if we could put it on projects pending, so maybe when we're doing the budget in 2022 for 2023, we may want to look at this. The other thing they offer that Bird City elected to do was to have always up to date. It's a yearly subscription of $750, and every time you pass an ordinance, they will plug it, they keep a copy for you online, or they manage the link to your ordinances, and they will immediately put it in. So rather than having like an ordinance at the front of the chapter of the code book and having to see when you're looking it up, okay, does this have an ordinance that amends it, it puts it right into the text. So there's no confusion on what's passed, what's been amended. It keeps it constantly up to date. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. As far as the scope of work, I don't know how many people were here when you recodified in 2015, but a recodification is a massive undertaking. Especially.
Everybody should sit through at least one. I sat through the ones working at Kite Day, and then I know more than got on council.
Right.
Did it again.
But I mean, for the amount of work that it is, I think a recodification, and I don't know what it will be, for St. Francis, or if that's just their standard fee, but I think that amount of work for $3,200 is a great deal, and because it really is a whole lot of work. And so I just thought I'd throw that out there and see if we could put it on projects pending. I mean, if you think it's a terrible idea, then we won't, but I just thought that, we may want to consider it with the changes to the fact that we no longer have a police department, and a significant number of ordinances would need to be changed to say, you apply at the city office, you have it done by a sheriff office, and then the trash. So.
When they update the UBC, the fire code, all of the things that we then reference, they update that too, just like the UBC, Universal Building Code, fire code, all that stuff gets involved. New supplemental stuff gets put into it at that time. I don't know if 6 years is appropriate. I don't know what normal is. I just know when we've done it, it's been a long process before.
I don't know that 6 years, but we're talking in 2022, it would go into budget in 2022 for the 2023 year. So we're really talking 8 years, and it was done at 9 years, and then it was done at 12 years. And so we're really talking 8 years, because we're not talking about actually getting it done until 2023. So it's an 8-year period in between recodification. And I just think that the changes have been significant enough in that time that it may be something to consider. Particularly just switching out every place where it says police department to sheriff's office. Because there are a lot. I mean, I was going through for the ATV, the worksite utility vehicles, golf carts, etc. And it was, I mean, police department, police department, police department. And I was like, well, I don't think we want to go through right now and change all of these, but...
I really like the idea of having the online updates. We can link it from our website right to where they have it. And that would be so great. Because right now our website's really not very updatable because they're all just PDFs.
And they keep it as a digital, they keep it not only online where it's accessible, but they will send a digital copy and provide paper copies as well. I think annually. They provide a new paper copy of everything you've done. So if you want to have a paper copy, Mr. Mayor, they have that. So I was just hoping to put that on projects pending for the 2022 budget for the 2023 year.
Let's add that on project pending. Because that sounds like probably the best way to do it. Because I don't, Mike never liked doing them. I mean, it was just...
I just think like $3,250 to get it done once, and then $750 a year to make sure it's always up to date. Like the amount of work it takes to redo it. Because I mean, we could, if they keep it up to date, I mean, we could not need to recodify for 10, 20, 25 years. And I just think that's a great investment. I need 5 minutes of executive session with JR and Lila. I would like them to stay for communication subject to attorney-client privilege. And it has to do with municipal court matters, but the exception is attorney-client privilege.
Okay. Do you hear a motion to accept the attorney report? Moved by Cable. Second by Darrell. All in favor? Clerk report.
Out on the share, and Mayor, you have the original copy there of the Adam Brown quotes for the services that they're going to provide. If you want to continue to contract with them, on page 5 is the costs that they are proposing for the next 3 years. It's about a 2% increase every year, year over year. What they're saying is that for the audit, their fees will not exceed $13,720. For the next year, $14,130 after that, and then $14,550, and then $1,300 for the PVC each of those years. That's been consistent. And that's for 2021, 2022, and 2023 audits. And then the budget prep for 23, 24, and 25 would be $1,670, then $1,715, and $1,760 respectively. This year I am going to ask that they come on site. 2020, understandably, that was impossible. This last year, we did everything remotely. I thought that they were going to be on site one day, and that's what I call field work, is when they come on site, and that was not their understanding of what field work meant. I think it's important that they come on site at least one day and physically look at our records. For example, the vouchers that you all sign, for the last 2 years, those have not been physically looked at, and I think that's an important audit function. And so I will request that this year that they do that. We've got some new people. It's not Angela. She's still with Adams Brown, but she's moved on to other things. We've got Danielle. She seems very responsive to all the questions that I've had with the ARPA funds and everything like that. So I've been happy with the service that we've been getting from them, other than a little bit on the audit, but,
Yeah, we've been with them for several years. So do I hear a motion to approve the contract with them?
Second.
Been moved by Amanda, second by Larry, all in favor?
and then Jessica came over today. She was looking at the rental agreement that they have with us for the space next door and pointed out that it expires at the end of this year, and they're just wanting to know if we intend to renew this lease, and if it'll be the same price, and if possible, if we could make it a year lease instead of 6 months. I think initially we set it for this just to see how things were working out. We've had no issues. I don't believe they've had any issues. I think the arrangement is working well. But they're just trying to budget ahead, and so they're just wanting to know if it's going to increase or anything like that. So,
I guess I would make a motion to extend it for a year at the current rental price, whatever that was.
300.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved by Amanda, second by Larry, all in favor? Approved. You know, we might have to look at it sometime, it's just the average increase. I mean, it's like any,
I think so, but we're just,
Yeah,
kind of
we're
partially,
just
we
new.
had it for another year and
No,
then.
I agree with
review it
that,
for
but-
next year.
I agree with that, but just from then on, just regular, you know, whether it's a 3% or 2% increase or whatever, we want to figure out what it be, just so that, because we've let a lot of things slide.
Well, that's why we
Just-
have to pay the yearly yearly, so you catch that kind of stuff.
Like the water rates and the trash rates and everything we let slide till we have to make that decision. So if it went up just a little bit each year, so they didn't know it so bad, it's always when that hits them in the face, they don't like it.
I could do, I didn't have time because she just brought this over today, and I didn't even think about this ending at the end of this year, but next year I'd be able to do a utility type comparison and look at that kind of thing and see what might make sense as far as the increase in utilities and that kind of thing. But will you update it, or shall I update this? Because I think it's just going to be taking the current contract and just changing the expiration date, so I feel like I can do that.
I feel like if you want to do that, you can do that. I would just shoot it to me so I can make sure that there's nothing else that needs to be. Just so I can make sure there's nothing else that pops out at me of it. So yeah, I'll just take a quick read through of it, but it should be.
Amend and send.
Okay, I'll take a quick look.
You guys probably noticed if you read the paper that the wrong ordinance got published. It's totally my fault. 6:30, I published the option 1 instead of option 2, and I apologize for it. But it's relatively easy to fix. I'll send them the right one, which I already did, and then there'll be a note at the top of it that the previously published ordinance was incorrect. Below is the correctly worded ordinance. And I ran that past Lauren to she let me know that would be the right thing to do. So
She was concerned that we would have to do it as a new ordinance because it was published, and publication of a non-passed ordinance does not bring that ordinance into existence and make it effective. It's just that the passed ordinance is not effective until it is published. So wrong 6:30 is not effective. It's just some confusion. But correct 6:30 is still not effective until probably tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday when they run.
it's published.
When they run it.
So
And then we can run 6:31 too.
you
6:31 also.
this week?
I think so. I mean, if Scott's going to sign it, we can just.
Yeah, I think
I
he's
can
gonna
email. Actually, I have it in Word, so I will email it to him right now. Since I'm on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have it from my server, so I'll just email it to him right now. That'll work.
Okay. Justine will be here tomorrow. The Department of Commerce will be here on December 8th to do an audit on our CDBG documents, so hopefully I have all that in order. But Justine will be here tomorrow to help me go through all those and make sure we're where we need to be for that audit. I'll talk to her about the funding and make sure we're on track for that. If the
She should have had a conversation with Tyler by now. That was late last week.
I haven't heard anything, so I'm a little concerned on that.
Or just
So I will, but she will physically be here tomorrow, so I will ask her about that. And I'm sure everything's going to be fine, but there's a lot of paperwork with the CDBG grant, so we'll get through it and it'll be all right. Gosh, it seems like there was something else. Don't forget the party, December 3rd. And it'll be here at 4 o'clock. We'll just have some finger foods and cookies and just kind of hang out and visit and give the employees their bonuses and their service awards from you guys. And, the only other thing, well, no, you already asked for the executive session, so that's all I have.
Did you send it to Sammy back at?
Yes.
What time on December 3rd?
4 o'clock.
I didn't hear it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the file report? Moved by Cale, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Okay, council comments. Amanda?
Just I wanted to executive session for non-elected personnel.
How many?
5.
5.
Barry? Barry? Okay. And I would like probably at least 5 minutes for non-personnel. Okay. So that means we're here for 20 more minutes.
Can I go first?
Yes.
Because I need everybody, and I don't think I'm needed
No.
by anybody else.
5 minutes?
I just need 5 minutes.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the attorney-client privilege, right?
Mhm.
For municipal court matter?
Yeah, it's regarding municipal court of communication subject to attorney-client privilege. Privilege.
With the council, clerk and superintendent to resume at 7:53.
Hold on.
Need a motion to come out?
No.
We're
doing it.
Okay.
We just need a statement that no decisions were
Oh,
made.
okay. So we want to make a motion on couple of the work that
Attorney discretion for pursuit of cases.
cases that aren't feasible. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. I will not be here on the 13th. I will not be here on the 13th. If you need me, I should be available by phone.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
See you.
Okay.
5 minutes, and I'd rather do it because I think that I want Lila to be here as well for this one.
Okay.
And this is non-elected personnel for...
Non-elected personnel as it would relate to medical leave and the city's policy.
I'm going to go into executive session for non-elected personnel referencing medical leave. 5 minutes coming out at 8:02. 8:02.
And second by Cale.
Okay.
I do hear you.
That's good. So we just need the mayor to say we're out.
Okay. We are out of that executive session.
And decision.
What's that?
No decisions.
And no decisions were made, yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Green more, if any of them pertain to me.
Two more.
Got two more. See you there.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for personnel for job performance for 5 minutes, come out at 8:10. Oh, which is the council mayor.
And not me. Okay, then I need to request one too then, because I need to be in an executive session that I talked to you about earlier.
I forgot about that.
Okay, I thought that's what this one was.
Okay, so let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, and then I
With
can
Glenn,
leave.
yep.
Yeah, okay, okay, okay. Okay. Okay, so,
Come out of executive session with no decisions made.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for 5 minutes with just the council mayor for normally personnel for job performance.
can't write that fast. Okay, and second by,
Is there a second by Cale?
about at what time, I'm sorry?
Quarter after.
Not letting, there we go.
Okay, we're out of the meeting, no decision. One thing I would like, that talking about this, I would like to know how much money we are spending on our attorney compared to what we have been paying. It's going to be night and day difference.
I can certainly get that for you.
I'd like, well, you know, don't, well, if you could have it ready by the next meeting, that'd be great. Just something for us to do some comparison to. But Mike would have just wrote those things off a long time ago, wouldn't even bother us with it. And she's got to go talk to Cody about it, and then all this and that, and go on and on forever, and run it like a business. If we're going to lose money, we got to get out.
You're definitely losing some money. Okay. I
All
can
right,
do that.
so-
Okay.
Okay. Real quick, I just want to mention something. There was one thing I forgot to mention on the clerk report, if I may just mention it real quickly here. We got the $6,000. We had applied for $10,000, but we got $6,000 from the Hanson Foundation for the gazebo. So I'll be working with Bob and seeing what we can, hopefully maybe get going. If they can come up with whatever the rest of it is, we should be able to get that project done. So sorry, I wanted to make sure you guys
Is
knew
there a
that.
time limit on it?
So no, as far as the Hanson grant's concerned, we have a year. As soon as I sign the agreement with your approval, which I'm assuming the nods are giving me approval to do so, I have to file the final report 30 days after it's completed, but we have a year to do it. So, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Thank you.
No, I think it's definitely going to help them out. So
Yeah.
even though it doesn't
Yeah,
quite
that's
as
great.
much as they thought, it's still going to help them out.
Good job.
Okay.
Okay.
5 minutes?
Yeah, probably 5 minutes.
Make a motion to go into executive session for elected personnel for 5 minutes with just the mayor and council
Regarding a topic,
regarding
employee status.
Yeah.
Employee status. To resume at what would that be? 8:23, 8:24? 8:24?
Second thing.
Kale's on it. We're over here like.
Okay.
Okay, we are back out of executive session. And I guess the one thing that we was discussing there is we need to probably appoint you back as city clerk.
So, probably should talk about that because of it depends on what the plan is from this point moving forward. I feel like maybe it would be a good, perhaps, if you're not planning on moving forward with any of the other applicants that we had, taking a step back and just letting me continue on for a while.
Okay.
If you appoint me back as city clerk, then I'll have to quit again.
Okay. Well, here's our thoughts. And that's what I said, maybe we need to think about it just a little bit longer until next meeting and see what, we're thinking we kind of went backwards. That maybe you should have stayed on as city clerk, hire an assistant clerk. And we know that that's going to be hard to do because whoever wants to apply for that assistant, it needs to be a full-time job and make it a full-time job. And we're going to have to maybe figure out a decent enough salary that they would apply for it, knowing that maybe like in a year's time, they would switch over to the city clerk instead of the way we went.
I think that's probably a good idea. And I'd be willing to do that.
Do you have any other thoughts?
Not any good ones, no. I was kind of thinking the same thing. We just needed to take a step back and take a look at what we needed to do. But if you appoint me back as city clerk, it wouldn't make sense to then hire somebody right away and then do the whole process again. That's just too convoluted.
To hire somebody as the assistant, knowing
Yes.
that they will eventually, and I don't know, if you're still city clerk, once we would get somebody in there, you wouldn't necessarily have to work full-time, but you would still be the appointed clerk, right? Did you drop back to, I mean, were you
It would
kind of want to
be-
do part-time?
It would be hard. Let me think on that, because I think it would be hard for me to continue to do the role of clerk in a part-time, in part-time
Like an
hours.
assistant clerk trained, if we're looking a year down the road and you were wanting to be part-time before then.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So,
I think we should play it by ear and see.
So let's say
Yes.
6 months, how many trainings
Oh,
for
yeah,
6
we-
months? Maybe for 6 months you could still be clerk, but be more part-time as things are transitioning and then
Gotcha.
shut down.
Yeah, I mean, that would
Like
work.
I said, it wouldn't be,
Yeah, because we could do it in 6 months. It wouldn't have to be a year or whatever.
but if you were still the clerk for a year, I mean, and we could be contingent, obviously, but if we needed to keep that, just so we're not, a brand-new person is the person in charge, we just kind of
Well, it's
horse
just-
before the horse, I think, and should
Yes.
have really done it.
I didn't think there'd be a problem. I mean, there wasn't when I was hired on, so I just, but
But yet I think it is, I mean, I could see a problem there with, but it doesn't matter whether it's DJ or anybody else. You put them in and you're the clerk, okay?
It's your office, you're in charge.
I can fire and hire anybody up here. I can start saying this and that, but yet they don't feel comfortable yet.
Yeah.
They're just not comfortable enough yet. They need to have a minimum of 3 months to 6 months training. Then we could make the switch if everything seems to be going the right way.
that'd probably be the best interest.
So how would you advertise for that?
Advertise for an assistant city clerk.
Mhm.
Assistant city clerk.
But I think whoever applies, we would, in the interview process, say it's, another thing to advertise. And obviously, the assistant city clerk would fill in the vacancy of the clerk, right?
If something happens to me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that would be their,
We got to figure out what wages and what benefits we could offer for them to start, because it's still going to be hard. We're going to have to make it attractive for them at assistant clerk, so they're going to want benefits, they're going to want somewhat a decent salary.
It
be a
would.
full-time job.
So we just got to figure out where that would work for somebody.
I don't know, did we have any pay scales from before we had the assistant? Obviously, that's been, clear back, my mom was the assistant when Mary passed away, and then she bumped up and they never replaced, right? I'm pretty sure that, yeah.
I could put something out on the clerk, we can see what the ranges are out there for assistant clerks, yeah.
And maybe
Okay.
no experience to kind of give us a,
Right.
range that way too, as far as hiring somebody with no experiences.
And I would say not to jump on this right now, because now I'm getting into the incredibly busy time.
I agree. I said we just need to think about this for a little bit and stuff.
But if you're okay with that, that's kind of, we just,
I am, because, yeah.
And I think also the confidential, but the other first two that applied, we were going to have the same problems. Yeah, we're going to have the same problems.
Which the way we set it up, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's on us.
It is.
I don't know. I wouldn't blame you guys because it wasn't any different than when I started, and it was not. I went home a couple times, cried because I thought I cannot do this job. I can't do this job because it was so overwhelming. But
You were training me for a couple months, right? Then my mom retired and you took over. Is that correct, or did you?
yes, that's actually true. Well, I was the clerk right away after the charter ordinance passed. I was still the clerk, but yeah, your mom was here for 2 months
Okay.
training me.
So it was-
But then she was gone.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to do that to anybody because that was really hard.
I think 2 months is too short.
Yes, it absolutely
Yeah.
is.
It's got to be 3 to 6 months.
So
Yeah.
then at the next council meeting, I did run that past the leg. This question is whether you guys could just reappoint me as city clerk. And she said, yes, you can do that. That's what happened with Lori, when your mom.
Are we going to need to do that?
We'll leave that tonight.
Well, you can. If you're going to do it, I'm just trying to think this through payroll-wise. Make it effective at the beginning of the next pay cycle because it's really hard to change from salary to salary in the middle of the cycle. So the next pay cycle starts.
This is last Thursday.
We make it effective on the 26th, so Friday. If you make it effective Friday, if you want to reappoint me, and make it effective Friday, and then it would be until the next appointed time, which is January, and then you can appoint me again. And actually, that would make sense, and at that time, it's a year appointment, and then in the beginning of the next year, you could do the whole
Whatever.
thing again. Is that what you want to do?
Or you can't do it back.
I can't do it back because I've already worked part of this pay period.
I'll just make a motion to reappoint Lila as city clerk, effective on Friday the 26th, did you say?
Okay, then moved by Amanda and second by Cale. All in favor? Approved.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
mistakes by all.
You're adjourned.
I'm getting too old to keep having mistakes. I got to wear that shirt that I didn't make one mistake.